Here we go, the 82nd country, Azerbaijan. So from Turkmenistan, I took a ferry to Azerbaijan, but it took me more than 5 days on the ferry. And eventually we stopped somewhere in Azerbaijan, but not exactly in the capital, Baku. So the ferry company offered us a shuttle bus in order to deliver all the passengers who need to visit Baku. So I was checking with the driver where I should get off, and then there was a local woman, a crazy one, and on board just shouted at me and then threw me dirty words. So I ended up the discussion with the driver, and after that a guy who can speak English, he sat next to me, helped me out, helped me cut my couchsurfing house to check where to get off, but still I got off on the wrong place, and then it was getting dark. So the only way to make my way to my host place was getting a taxi. But I just arrived, I haven't got any local currency. So I just took a taxi, but I found my couchsurfing host to pick me up and paid for my taxi first. After I exchanged money, I will give him back. So after I arrived at a certain meeting point, I waited a long time and didn't find my host. I seemed a little bit worried, and eventually he came. And just like all the emotion together, I was couldn't help to hold my emotion. I finally cried, and then trying to express myself to my host that it was so challenging to make my way from Turkmenistan to Azerbaijan. So that was my very first time meeting a host, but with my tears. I really couldn't help. And then my host was a student from Turkey. He was studying in Baku, and he shared a house with 3 Azerbaijan roommates. I slept on the couch of his room, and it was during the exam season for him. So I just went out to do sightseeing by myself. I went to a local restaurant, which was recommended by the previous traveler I met, who has visited Azerbaijan before. So lent dolma to try the local cuisine. It's really good option for your own budget or for your money's value. And then I still remember one day I was asking for the direction on the street, and I met a very lovely Azerbaijan girl, and she showed me the way and also treated me for ice cream, and then took me to meet her sister who working as a English teacher, and then that was very lovely. And after that I was impressed by a photo I saw in an exhibition in Baku, which was 3 different religions boys. They were appear on one photo, showing peace and love. So the different part represent Muslim, Christian, and Jewish. And after that, I visited a couple museum to learn the different patterns meaning. And I also cooked for my host and his roommates in order to show my appreciation. They all enjoyed my cooking. And one of my host's roommates just told me during my visiting time, and there was F1 event and car racing going in Baku. So with his assistance, I booked my ticket for that event. But it was a few days later. So I decided to go to Sheki first. From Baku, I took a overnight train that bring me to Sheki. After I arrived there in the train station, I've hitchhiked 2 cars to get me in front of my guest house. It was a family running guest house, upstairs for guests, downstairs for hosts, for owner. And Sheki was very connected with the nature. Every day I just took the very budget local transport, going around and chilling. Also, I got my accommodation registration from my guest house owner, because I noticed there's a need for registration. And then after visiting Sheki, I took another overnight train back to Baku. So like the train was in the evening, but I made my way to the train station quite early, because the public transport ends up very early. So after arrived, I found myself a bakery to store my luggage, and then went to the petrol station for food. And after that, I waited in the bakery for a long time until my train arrived. So the staff from the bakery was very friendly and allowed me to rest over there. They were super lovely local. And I couldn't sleep very well on the night train. So when I came back to Baku, that was in the early morning, I found myself another couchsurfing host. They were a couple. They can only be able to meet me in the afternoon. So I first found myself a hostel to store my luggage. After that, walking around. So when I almost supposed to meet, then I just took a metro. But it was like during the busy time. I was together with my luggage, and then I was kind of like squashed inside the metro. I almost cried. That was like hard. And then after that, I arrived, and then I didn't see my host. I waited for 30 minutes, and then I called him and then to check what's going on. And he told me his wife was on her way. So eventually I met his wife, and she was pregnant, and then she told me she had the same experience in the metro as me. So my host used to study in the UK, and then I slept on the couch in their living room. There were no extra blankets for me, so I just covered with my jacket when I sleep. And his wife was a very nice person, and then she can sing very well. And then they intend to move to Europe in the future. And next day, there was the Baku F1 racing event day, so I made my way out. And then sometimes I found out that there's like some accident for the participant of the F1 racing. And then there were so many exhibitions, workshops, dancing, by the seaside. So it's very fruitful event. And also I met my first host in Baku, who was a Turkish roommate and the local Azerbaijan. He was one of the volunteers for the events on that day, and he told me in the evening there will be a party going on at another location, and then he will just highly recommend me to go. So I just followed his information, then made my way to that place. It was like so many people, and you were DJ on the stage and the music, and it was really nice experience. But I was there by myself. I couldn't stay that long because I still needed to make my way back to my host place. So I just experienced it was very nice. And the next day, before I left my host place, his new couchsurfing guest already arrived. So I thanked and said goodbye to my host and made my way to the train station. Since I wanted to visit Lagora Caravan, but I couldn't make it from Azerbaijan side, so I decided to go to Georgia first. I bought on the night train to Georgia, and after that I heard someone who was speaking dialect from my hometown. I feel just so curious, and then I found out there were like 3 Chinese tourists on board, and they were like from very near to my hometown. So we started a conversation. While I was talking to the Chinese people, our train just moved toward the Georgia side. So the next coming country that will be Georgia. Thank you very much for listening. I will catch you up with the next one. Thank you once again. Bye.